The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we are webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. Today is Tuesday, September 11th. And I don't think we can start this show, I don't think anybody can say those words, September 11th, without saying that our thoughts and our prayers and our higher selves are thinking about other things today. It is one of those days when I think forever it will live in infamy, and we can't start the show without at least expressing to families out there how important it is to us to remember this day and have that remembrance. That being said, there's still a lot to do today, and we're going to be with you for the next 2 hours talking about how to be the most effective, efficient member of a team working with a child on the autism spectrum, helping them to reach their highest potential, to get that all-important progress. We know that their highest potential is going to mean different things for each and every one of our children, as it should, because they are individuals. They are lovely, luscious, wonderful individuals. We need to see them for who they are, accept and love them for who they are, and help them to reach the potential that we know is possible. And if you don't know that it's possible, I'm so glad you're here, because there are a group of people here with me who know that it's possible. How do I know it's possible? Because I'm a mom. I am the mom of a now 9-year-old who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. I remember those days vividly, like they were yesterday. My child has the kind of autism that he regressed into. He was speaking in full sentences, and then slowly it started to slip away until we were left, by the time he was 2.5, with a child who had virtually no functional communication skills. Terrifying, you betcha. Difficult to figure out what we were going to do, yes. But we had a lot of help along the way, people who showed us and introduced us to people at the right time in the right places. Can I just tell you how lucky I have been and how fortunate I have been to have met those people. And we were able to start intensive ABA right after his 3rd birthday. It was about 2 weeks into his third birthday that the first therapist from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders came to our door. By the way, that therapist was Peter Farrig, who I adore and worship the ground that he walks on. I refer to him frequently as the Autism Whisperer. He is the voice, when you hear the disclaimer at the beginning of the show, that's Peter's voice, and he's a remarkable human being. He is just back from being in South Africa, and he is somebody who is going around the world now for CARD and helping individual children. And from time to time, when he is not as busy, we try to get him with a shoehorn into this studio, because it's difficult to chase him down and find the time with him. But can I tell you, he's remarkable, but he's not the only remarkable person that we've met on this journey. We've met so many people. And once we started ABA therapy, we saw improvement almost immediately, but it took quite a while to get as much improvement as we needed to have for him to graduate from his ABA program. 5 years of intensive ABA. Was it worth it? You betcha. Was it hard? Absolutely. But again, was it worth it? Yes. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here hosting this show, because I am certainly not an expert in autism. I am certainly not an expert in ABA, applied behavior analysis. analysis. I am not an expert in finances. Oh, please, I am so not an expert in finances. But I'm somebody who has experienced this journey and has a passion for helping you to find shortcuts to get to the information that you need to have today. Autism has changed a lot since my child was diagnosed, and it's even changed a lot in the last year. I want to help hook you up with information from experts and sources so that you can find your way that much faster. If I can save you 5 minutes and $5, oof, for me, I want to do more than that, but if I can do that, that means that you have 5 more minutes to do something else and $5 more to do something else. Now, you can help me to do this by interacting with the people on the show and with myself, telling us what kinds of things you want to talk about, what kinds of questions you have. How do you do that? Well, there are lots of different ways. If you're watching us right now on autism-live.com, you see me talking there in a little box, and next to me there's another empty box, and above it says Shannon is answering right now. This is your opportunity. That means we're live, and if you type away in that box and hit enter, it will show up here on my screen, and you and I can have a conversation, and more importantly, you can have a conversation with the people that we have on the show. And not just today. If you send that question today, it's something I'm already talking to the people who are going to be on later on in the week and saying, hey, we've had questions this week about X, Y, and Z, so that they'll know what you guys want to know about. Please interact and tell us what we can do to help you, and share information. If you've got information and resources that you think everybody should know about, let us know. We want to be a part of your team, and we want you to be a part of our team. Now, so that's autism-live.com when we're live. If it says rebroadcast on that screen, then that box should not be active, hopefully. But you still have the opportunity to ask questions. And if you're watching us on other sites, same thing goes. Lots of different ways to interact with us, the first of which is email. Good old-fashioned email. Did we ever think we'd be calling email old-fashioned? But you can email us anytime, day or night, wherever you are in the world. We will get your question, concept, concern, idea, whatever it is, and we'll cover it on the next available live show. But not only that, we'll send you back a typewritten response. It may not be from us. It might be from an expert that we forwarded it to. It's all free. It's just a resource for you, and because we want you to have this information. I know how important it is for you to have this information. So don't be shy. Email us. You can also get a hold of us in lots of other different ways. We have Skype, and you can Skype in with us into the studio. And if you have camera capability on your computer, then we can even see your picture here on Skype. That's a wonderful way to get in touch with us. You can talk to us via Facebook. This is a wonderful way to chat with us. You can respond to some of the posts that we have that are things having to do with this show or to do with other things. If there's something you'd like for us to post on Facebook, let us know. We love to share things that you guys think are important. And you can also answer the question of the day, which will be coming up in just a little while on the Facebook. We appreciate it if while you're there you like us. We like to be liked, just about like anybody else likes to be liked. And you can also participate with us on Twitter. We have our own Twitter. There we are, Autism Live Show, at Autism Live Show. Have a conversation with us on Twitter. Now, I mentioned that you could be watching us on autism-live.com. We're live from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to noon Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. The rest of the time, what you'll see are reruns of recently taped shows. So we are on this channel 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but we are live 10 hours a week. If you want to watch something particular, though, if there's a particular topic, I'm warming up my mouth today, a particular guest, a particular day that you wanted to see the show, there are lots of different ways that you can find that specific information. We have our own channel on blip.tv. This is like your personal DVR for Autism Live. You can go there, search topics, rewind, pause, fast forward, skip to another day if there's something else that you want to see. If you want to watch all the interviews with Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, and why wouldn't you want to do that? You can certainly do that on blip.tv. You can also also do that on YouTube. We have our own channel on YouTube, but on YouTube, not only can you watch it, you can share it really easily. If you like something or you don't like something and you want to put it on your Facebook or you want to email it to someone, you can easily do that on our YouTube channel. And you can also post comments if you'd like, or suggestions on each individual video as well on our YouTube channel. And you can download entire episodes on iTunes. This is a great way to watch us and archive copies if you want. If you're going away on vacation and you want to catch up, you can certainly do that on iTunes. And of course, all of these different ways are free. It is a free download on iTunes, and you can also catch us on Ustream. So all of those different ways are available to you. We hope that you'll interact in whatever way is appropriate for you. There are more ways that are coming. Yes, we've got exciting things in the works around here. More opportunities for you to be able to watch Autism Live in the way that suits you. So we'll let you know as those come up. I mentioned, and I can't say it enough, I'm not the expert, but I want to hook you up with the experts. I'm with you in this journey. I know people get offended sometimes when I talk about being in the trenches, but as a parent, that's how I have experienced it. I don't know if that's how you experience it. We have a lot of people that are starting to tune into the show that are young people, teenagers, and adults on the autism spectrum. I don't mean to offend you by saying that at all, because I want you to know that it's important to me that you feel included in this process. I do think that's a different experience being an adult on the autism spectrum and being a parent of a child on the autism spectrum, because when children are younger, being able to get them access to the services that help them to be the adults that you guys have become is a lot of pressure, stress, and work, and I certainly had nothing to prepare me for that. So for me, it felt like a battle, but a battle that was worth overcoming. Let's say that. I want to pick my words wisely because I don't want to offend. But it was hard for me, and I think it's hard for a lot of parents. And hopefully you guys can see that and understand why I use those words, but I will try to temper them as well. In any case, I like to start every morning with something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is the time of day when we make friends with those terms that we've never heard of before. And suddenly now we have all these new people in our life that we didn't plan on having, right? Nobody was at the hospital and got handed the baby of joy and said, ooh, I can't wait until the speech and language pathologist and the occupational therapist and the ABA experts come in and talk to me about my child using words I have never heard of before. Nobody says that. But since we're here, we have to make the best of it, right? And making the best of it means making friends with the jargon so we understand what they're saying about our kids. It's part of this journey. It just is. So we like to do it one word, one phrase, one anagram at a time, just like we teach our kids. Put it in small little increments, make it manageable. How do you eat that elephant? One bite at a time, right? That's what Dr. Jonathan Tarbox tells us. So, and he knows what he's talking about. All right, today's term, it's not one that all of us will hear, but I think it's one that we should all be aware of. And the term is prosody. So we always give you an actual definition and then a working definition. Let's take a look at what the actual definition for prosody is. For those of you who have literature backgrounds, you may think that you understand what this means, but it's slightly different when we talk about it in terms of speech and autism. The use of intonation and vocal stress to convey information about the structure and meaning of an utterance. Okay, very close to the literary term. Let's look at our working definition, though, for when we're talking about our kids on the autism spectrum. The use of pitch, loudness, tempo, and rhythm in speech so that the listener can understand what is being said. We all know people who speak in a way that it's confusing sometimes, and sometimes the effect is humor and it's deliberate. I think of Madeline Kahn, who was a genius at her deliberate lack of prosody to deliver punchlines. The more recent reference would be Ben Stein. He's the guy that does the Ferris Bueller, and also does the eye commercials, where he speaks in just about a monotone. And, sometimes that can be used for comic relief. Well, when it's our kids, there's nothing comic or relieving about it. For our kids to be able to communicate with us and to be able to communicate with other adults and to be able to communicate with peers to convey what they mean, whether they're asking a question, whether they're frightened, whether something needs to happen in a big hurry. If a child is delivering things on a pitch that doesn't convey those things, then we have a communication breakdown, and we don't want that. But we can teach children to be able to modulate their voices so that they can be understood. And really, that's what we're talking about. We don't want sing-songy little kids, right? That's not what we want from prosody. But we also don't want a monotone. We don't want kids who constantly speak and are speaking so fast that we can't understand what they're saying, right? I'm guilty of that a lot. There are kids who only upward inflect after every single sentence. So they say, I want to go to the store, and to us, it reads like a question, right? There are kids who never upward inflect whether they're asking a question or not. All of these things we can address with some simple lessons and we reinforce when they do it properly. We give them lots of opportunity to practice, and we can build prosody in. Being able to be understood using your pitch, loudness, tempo, so that you convey the meaning of what you're trying to say. The lessons can actually be very, very fun. So if you've ever heard a child who talks and has that very, I am talking to you, please know that can be addressed and fairly quickly. That is prosody, having that pitch, loudness, tempo, and rhythm, so we understand. Okay. We always have a question of the day for you. Question of the day is meant to get you thinking. I don't know why I'm not moving here. There we go. Meant to get you thinking, participating. As I said, you can answer this question on Facebook. We like to check in a little bit later to see what kinds of answers you guys have. You can also tweet it to us. I always like to remind you that when you're answering the question of the day, not only are you having an opportunity to share and download some of what you've experienced, but it has huge effects on other people. It helps other people to know what questions they should be asking, what is normal. I mean, I hesitate to say that, but sometimes when I hear somebody else share something and I go, oh, I feel that way too. I'm not alone. So that's kind of normal for me to feel this way. And I feel better about that. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. Okay. Today's question is, does your child, I know, I'm opening a can of worms here. Does your child have friends they enjoy playing with on a regular basis? Now, notice that I asked, does your child have friends that they enjoy playing with? It doesn't necessarily mean that the other kids necessarily enjoy playing with them, but I know, especially in the case of my son, there's one friend that he just thinks is his best buddy. Just thinks that they have a great time together and they get opportunities to be together. And as far as my son is concerned, they are super duper friends, and the other child is patient, but it is not their estimation of the relationship, right? But my son doesn't get that yet. And I'm not going to rush to inform him of that. We work on little things so that he can make it more reinforcing for the other child. And there are other kids that my son really has a good time playing with that love playing with him. But currently we're in a phase where he's all about this one individual who does a very good job of, shall we say, attempting to be patient with him. But there is not a joy from that other child about being with my son. And we're working on that. We are working on that. But I want to know from you, does your child have friends that they enjoy being with? Because this is something we have to work on. I know it's frustrating for almost all of us, the whole question of friends and making it work, and it can be so tiring, but it's really important that we do work on it. So feel free to write in. I want to hear from you guys. Maybe you have some words of advice for me about the friends who aren't as excited about our kids through no fault of their own, but they just aren't. skills. They just aren't. Okay, we always have a topic of the day, and our topic this week, if you couldn't guess already, is social skills. Helping our children to navigate it's difficult for all of us, is it not? The social world and having friends and making concessions and being aware of what other people want and what they don't want. And it's difficult for all of us, but it's particularly difficult for our kids on the spectrum. And as much as sometimes, like, I really do think that my son does not realize that this other young boy is not as enamored of him as Jem. He's not as enamored of Jem as Jem is of him. But there are a lot of things that my son does pick up on, and his feelings do get hurt because he sees that he's left out and separate. So social skills, it's one of those things that we have to work on and keep working on and get as far as we can, reach the highest potential that we can. So we will be talking about that. Now, our schedule today, which is slightly different than what it reads here, we have a motor tip for you. We've got a healthy eating tip. We had scheduled in just a few minutes to play a clip that we had scheduled to tape this morning with dad blogger Jim Walter. I did have a conversation with Jim Walter on the phone today, and I'm going to be talking about his blog coming up in just a minute. But we don't have the recording to play for you because Skype is giving us agita this morning. We plan to have Jim on the show on another day, but I am going to talk about his blogs coming up in just a few minutes. A lot to cover today, and of course tomorrow is a really big day here at Autism Live, starting at about 10:20 in the morning. We're going to be joined by Evelyn Gould, BCBA Board Certified Behavior Analyst. And then at 11 o'clock during Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, for the first time, we're going to have Lisa Ackerman on the show. If you don't know Lisa, I'm thrilled to be able to introduce her to you because she's one of the co-founders of TACA. We've mentioned them certainly as a resource before on the show many times. TACA, which stands for Talk About Curing Autism, is an organization of parents really around the world now, but it started in Southern California, and they are all about providing resources and keeping the conversation between parents going. It's a really important organization that I urge every parent to at least visit their website, if for no other reason, for the resources and for the fellowship, because you will learn so very much. I always talk to you about a local support group and a global support group. Well, my local support group is a local TACA chapter, and they are the parents that I am able to run to when I'm having an issue. And I tend to use a lot of different, more global support groups, but certainly TACA is one of those. But they are my local support group. So I certainly owe them a great deal and have found them to be exceptionally helpful on this journey. And Lisa Ackerman will be here tomorrow, and she's a mom and a blogger as well. Fairly recently started blogging, but with great results. So that will be tomorrow. We're going to take a short break, and as I mentioned, we're going to come back and talk about Jim Walter without him being here and without a tape. But he's an important autism dad and a blogger, and you probably are familiar with some of the things that he's been writing in recent days, so stick with us.
Skills is a revolutionary web-based program that incorporates comprehensive assessment, curriculum design, progress tracking, and treatment evaluation for children with autism all in one place. Developed by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. Our approach is based on over 40 years of research on the principles of learning and their application to improving the lives of children with autism. How does Skills work? Created with speed and simplicity in mind, Skills was modeled on an easy 3-step process. Step 1. Start assessment. Step 1 begins with our intelligent assessment system, which consists of a series of questions. This assessment is essential to identifying your child's level of skills compared to their typical peers across all areas of development. This includes assessing social, motor, language, adaptive, play, cognition, executive functions, and academic skills. Every skill has an assigned age, which indicates when the skill emerges during typical development. This means that each child is automatically presented only with lessons that are relevant to his or her age. Step 2. Choosing activities. It's now easier than ever to build an individualized treatment plan. In Step 2, you are presented with an individualized pool of activities that are directly linked to your student's assessment results. Each activity represents a specific skill that has been indicated by the assessment as needing to be taught. Activities are categorized by curriculum and then by lesson. There are 3 main types of skills: building blocks, fundamental, and expansion skills. Fundamental skills are necessary for successful everyday functioning. Building blocks are prerequisites to a fundamental skill. Expansion skills are non-essential skills, but may provide further enrichment in certain areas. After reviewing the activities available to you, you can quickly add your chosen activities to the treatment plan by simply checking the box and clicking the button. Step 3. Start treatment. Once you have selected and added the activities you want, you are ready to begin teaching. Skills provide you with all the tools necessary to design and manage an effective curriculum plan, such as printable activity guides that are customizable by the teacher, supplemental teaching aids including printable data sheets, teaching guides, visual aids, worksheets, and tracking forms, detailed IEP goals and benchmarks for each activity, brief and visually appealing video tutorials, a variety of treatment progress and clinical timeline charts, and lots more. And since Skills is completely web-based, everything you need is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in one easy-to-access location. Skills users even benefit from unlimited access to a support community, where they can ask questions and share ideas with a skills expert. Skills is always with you.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and if you watch this show, you know that from time to time we like to feature different bloggers from the autism community, mostly moms and dads, who the blogs that I pick to feature are blogs that are really well written, and their subject matter is a wide range of topics, but things that move us, that make sense, that touch us, that spur us to action, that inspire us, lift us up, and give us hope, or just remind us that we're not alone in this journey through autism. And certainly today's blog dad that I'm going to feature fits that bill. And of course, I'm talking about Jim Walter, who is the author of the blog that you see before you, Just a Little Blog. You can find it at www.blogginglily.blogspot.com. There it is. And you can see we're there right now. And the subtitle for it is The True Life Adventures of an Autistic Little Girl and Her Struggles Raising Her Two Parents with Only a Big Sister to Help Her. This is a lovely blog, and there's a wide range of topics, and of course I love the look of the blog, and there are lots of lovely pictures. But you might be familiar with this blogger because he recently got a great deal of attention because he wrote about something that happened to him. Seemed like a small thing to him that he was writing. Actually, it seemed like a big deal to him, but a small deal that he was writing about it. That he went to the local Target store in his community, And while going through the checkout, he saw some behavior that the cashier engaged in, which he recognized and thought to himself, I'm familiar with this because I have someone at home who engages in this same behavior, and went through his entire transaction and saw how skilled the cashier was, how truly what a wonderful employee he was, and clearly he was on the autism spectrum. And it moved him to think of the fact that this person clearly displayed these behaviors while they were going through the job interview, and yet someone had had the foresight to realize this is going to be a valuable employee. And it touched him, it impressed him, and so he wrote about that. And you can read that blog and many subsequent blogs about the Target trip on this blog by, as I said, going to www.blogginglily.blogspot.com. Of course, eventually his blog, the follow-up for it, was picked up by the Huffington Post because there was so much attention for this blog, and there should have been, because it was a beautifully written and thought-provoking blog about a moment in time that we can all relate to, and that we should all be able to relate to, and that we hope we see more moments like this. Of course, with attention comes a firestorm, and if you want to read about what this dad has been through, both positive and unfortunately negative, since his blog went viral, then I encourage you to check it out and his other blogs on Just a Little Blog. It'll be worth the read, and I think really calls to attention how much work we all have to do, but that with all that work, there is I love that there's a rainbow, because I feel like that's what this blog is, filled with hope, somebody who takes things in stride. This dad admits that he is not perfect, but as dads go, he's doing a pretty decent job. You can see how much he cares about his family, how much he cares about his wife, and how much he cares about both of his daughters. So really a remarkable wordsmith. I hope you'll give it a look, Just a Little Blog, and you can also find, if you put Jim Walter in the Huffington Post, you'll see some of the blogs. We did talk to him briefly this morning. We plan to have him on the show very soon, but in the meantime, I don't want you to miss out another day on checking out this blog, Just a Little Blog. And our congratulations to Jim and his family for a job well done, and our congratulations to that cashier. What a remarkable young man, and for the people who hired him, truly remarkable. We'll be back in just a minute. We've got some questions that are coming in, and we've got some really important topics to share with you, things that you can be doing with your children, activities, helping them to reach their fullest potential. Stick with us. Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Granpichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
It just has some gases.
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christina Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable, and recovery from autism is possible.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and we had a question that I want to address. I can't find the quote that I want, but I'm going to find it eventually. Okay, somebody wrote in and said, "Hi Shannon, my son is 10, mainstreamed, and has a full-time aide. My question is about your views on allowing him to take a Chinese, and I'm assuming class, immediately after school, a half-hour class twice a week. He loves languages. My mom thinks it's appalling that I would quote-unquote do that to him. She thinks I would be confusing him. I think it's an awesome opportunity to learn a different culture and language. Thanks." Okay, this is a great question, because this is, you know, when I started the show and I said we need to look at all of our children as individuals, and a part of that is letting go of our misconceptions of what things might be, should be, would be, could be, whatever, and looking at our individual children, because they have different interests and they have different abilities than what we are used to. That's going to make some people uncomfortable. And as parents, we're going to find some little quarter to find peace with that and not waste time on it, is my advice, for what it's worth. Because if your child loves languages and has expressed even the smallest amount of interest in learning another language, be it Chinese or Swahili, then I say run with that. And if other people are made uncomfortable by that because of their fear, just remember that fear is false evidence appearing real. Remember that they're coming at it from their point of view, and your mom means well. She loves your child, and she means well, and she doesn't want you to confuse him. And in her world, if she were having difficulty with something and somebody like speaking one language, learning a second language would be confusing to her. She's coming at it from her experience. And bless her, you know, that's well-meaning. It's not going to serve you or your child. So maybe the less said about the Chinese class after school to mom, the better. Wait until your child is beaming and saying entire phrases in Chinese to go, "Isn't that amazing?" And you'll have jumped over her fear. I know it's hard sometimes because we have people that we want to run to and say, "Hey, isn't this amazing?" But sometimes there's parts of this journey that they're not going to be with us. And that's a bummer, but maybe over time, as your mom sees all the things that your child can do, things that she can't even dream of doing, maybe her fear will start to recede. It's well-meaning, it's well-intentioned. I was looking for the quote. You know the quote, there's a poem about if we judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, I can't find it though. I'm going to find it eventually. But oh, Emily texted it to me on my phone or on the computer. Okay, here we go. She found it while I was talking to you. Everybody, here's the quote, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. We're not going to engage in that with our children. And for people who are having that fear moment, and thank you, Emily, because it's the perfect quote. For people who are having that fear moment, we're going to feel love towards them and steer our attention someplace else. Because you know what? You're not going to change their minds when they're in the fear. And their fear is well-intentioned. It just doesn't suit the situation. And I believe, and I'm going to ask some of our research people here throughout the week, that research supports that when we teach children more languages, it actually helps them with their base language, and that there's some real research behind that. I know one of the big ahas for me last summer, we got to see a group of gentlemen speak at a retreat. 3 of them that have recovered from autism, and they're all as different as they can be, right? If you want to see like the face of autism and what recovery looks like, they couldn't be more different. And one of them was talking about how difficult it had been for him to learn to speak. And he speaks quite well and is, I think, just finished getting his PhD or is about to finish getting his PhD. And he said, but if you listen to me, I still speak English as though it is a second language because I learned English as a second language. That sometimes there's a very interesting way that I'll phrase things and that it's just a little different. And one of the things that he shared afterwards was that he also learned other foreign languages. So I don't think that if your child is interested in learning Chinese, I don't see where there's an issue there at all. How can knowledge be a bad thing? If your child, if it has said, I don't want to go, I don't want to learn Chinese, and comes home and engages in challenging behavior afterwards, then we have other discussions, right? But when they're interested in something, run with it. Absolutely run with it. And if there are people who are having thoughts and feelings and emotions about that, talk about the flowers with them and don't talk about that. That's my advice. Let me know how it works out for you. I'm fascinated that your child is going to be speaking Chinese. I think it's wonderful. Let him fish in the ocean if he's a fish. There we go. Okay, I also want to bring up that some of you have been writing in for the bedtime pass. If you missed this earlier this week, we have had experts coming in and talking about how effective these can be. So just wanted to give you a little update. If you want the template for this, all you have to do is email us or Facebook us or whatever and let us know where we can send it to, because it's a PDF and it doesn't work really well if you do that on Facebook. We're happy to email it to you, and there's no charge whatsoever. It means that you have to print it out on your own paper and cut it out. I laminated mine, and you do have to come up with some way of sticking the little passes to the base. I used Velcro sticky dots, and you can get those easily in most stores. I know Command also makes a fabulous product that has something like this that will stick and unstick repeatedly. So very easy to do. There's no charge to get the template. And can I tell you that when I may have already mentioned this on the show, I explained it to my husband when we started to use this a couple of nights ago, and I said to my husband, so here's the deal. And we decided to start with 3. That's what we would have is 3. So, and you can start with as many. I included 5, but you can print more sheets and have more if you choose to. And I was explaining it to my husband, and he said, but what happens when he runs out? And I said, well, here's the whole deal. He gets a reward for it every morning if he doesn't run out. But if he does run out, we're going to go to bed, turn the lights off, and we're not going to address his issues. We're not going to have conversations with him about it. We're just not going to do it. And my husband looked at this and said, oh yeah, no, that's not going to work, Shannon. This is too simple. This is too easy. Are you telling me that we fought with him for like a year at bedtime with him getting up and getting up and getting up, and it was this easy? It was a piece of laminated paper. I'm just not. And usually I'm the person making those kinds of comments. Usually he's the one who's like, oh, yeah, great. We got something here that will work. And it was hilarious because the first night, and we explained it to our son, and the first night he went to bed and he wouldn't get up because he didn't want to use a single one. And my husband said, oh, who would have thought? Who would have thought that the little piece of paper works? But it does, and some of you have been writing in and saying the same thing. So really kind of amazing. He doesn't want to give up even one of them. In fact, we've had to talk to him about the fact that it's okay to use one or two or even all three. You can still get your reward in your morning, but he wants to hoard them. He's so afraid something's going to happen in the middle of the night and he's going to need all three of them. And then he'll miss out on his, we had to up it from 25 cents to 50 cents every morning because he's saving for something. But we're going to downgrade it to 25 cents really soon. In any case, if you want the template, all you have to do is email us and let us know, because it's working for my kid, and some of you have been writing in and saying it's working for your kids. It's just a piece of paper, but it's powerful. You gotta love that. My husband's a believer, and I'm a believer now too. All right, there's the bedtime pass. Email us or Facebook us with your email. Do it, message us so that you don't have to give your email to the world. All right. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I've got a tip for you about teaching tripod grasp that's really fun in fine motor skills. Stick with us.
While there are some children that have feeding problems and no other issues, there are also children that have medical problems that are comorbid with their feeding issues. So they may have esophageal reflux, they may have food allergies, they may have a variety of different things that impact feeding. And for that, it's not only the behavior analyst that is required to help the child, but other members of the medical community as well. One of the things you would want to look at is the range of the child's diet. And is that diet, does it possibly impact their health? A number of the kids that we see do have anemia from not taking in enough iron. A number of the kids that we see are deficient in various micronutrients. So it is does the diet impact their health? And two, is there social ramifications from feeding problem? In some cases, families can't go out to eat. They can't go to different places because their child's either diet is so limited or their feeding behavior is so limited that affects the family and it affects the child. If you look at the literature, behavioral interventions have been widely used to treat childhood feeding problems, and especially in kids with autism spectrum disorders. At our facility and a number of other places as well, we regularly succeed at getting kids with feeding problems to eat a wider variety of foods.
If there's somebody who has a child and they see that they've got an issue and they want to get some help, how can they contact your program?
We have our email address is feedingprogram@hmc.psu.edu. And certainly we're glad to talk to anyone, but I don't want them to think that we're the only ones out there. There's a lot of feeding programs, and there's a lot of behavior analysts that are very good at this. And if they're working with a behavior analyst already, a lot of the things that they're probably in the child's current program could be adapted to work on feeding. We just apply behavior analysis to feeding. We don't have a separate skill set. We just apply it to this particular area.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We've got a motor tip for you today that's really kind of fun and slightly fall inspired, or at least it could be. It's all about fine motor today, and that tripod grasp that we want our children to start to develop, that's going to help them with all the writing that they have to do, and a lot of other skills too. Look, they can't be a surgeon if they can't do this, right? And some of our kids might want to be surgeons, but at least in the beginning it's going to help them with their coloring skills, and it's going to help them with their writing skills. If we want to tackle the muscles that it takes to do the tripod grasp to write their name, and we're going to wait until it's time that we want them to write their name, we're going to be met with frustration. So how can we develop these muscles in something different from handwriting and help our kids to get stronger, so when it's time to do the handwriting, it's less frustrating and more reinforcing, and make the task that we're going to do to strengthen the muscles reinforcing? We're going to do push-pin art. Push-pin art. Push-pin I can't even say it, push pin art. That's what we're going to do. You may see this is a really popular activity that OT people will do. You can take any shape, and what I've got here, and I did this at home on my computer, I created some shapes and made a pumpkin. I think you can see it. And I did this first one with dots because the first time I'm going to teach this to a child, I might need to make it easier for them so that they see exactly where they need to push. But once they get the hang of it, you don't have to do this anymore. You can go to any dollar store and get I want to say coloring books. That's the phrase that I want. Coloring books or anything like that that has a thick, dark line, or you can download anything online. If they're really into Buzz Lightyear, there are coloring book pages for Buzz Lightyear online that you can download, and every single other character under the sun. You download them, and again, I think it's important, you know, the first time a child's doing it, especially if they've been struggling with this kind of thing, do the dots. And we can give you this template as well if you would like it for the pumpkin. But what you're going to do, and if you see I've got some tips here, we want to make sure that we supervise our children when we do this. This is not an activity that you send your child to do on their own while you're cooking dinner, because you're going to give them a very sharp little push pin. Now, why this? First of all, we want them to have success, so we want them to be able to poke through, and because it's so short, it doesn't give them the opportunity to wrap their hands around and hold it any other way than to do it in a tripod grasp. You know, on the show before we've said when you're working on the tripod grasp and you're teaching colors and using crayons and coloring, when you break the crayons off, it forces the tripod grasp. So this is perfect, but it's sharp. So we're never, ever, ever going to leave a child to do this on their own. And we're going to make sure that physical prompts, if we have to show them exactly what we need to do, because we don't want a child stabbing themselves. So always, always supervise. The next thing we want to do is to take this template and put it on short ply carpet. Why? Because otherwise we're going to have the child stabbing furniture or something else like that. But short and really thick, dense ply carpet is going to make it too hard and the page is going to move around. But short ply carpet is really ideal for this. So find the place in your house where this is going to be the most convenient. It's not going to hurt the carpet, especially if you're supervising. And what you're going to encourage the child to do is to start somewhere in the picture, and they don't have to do the whole picture in one setting. If they poke 5 holes and they're done, that's fabulous, but you're going to have them come back to it maybe later on. And what the child does is they poke a hole through each one of the dots. Now, if you've got the coloring book page, you're just going to have them, and I'm demonstrating this just so that you can see. But if it's coloring book page, they can poke as many holes as they want, but make sure they space them apart a little bit, because we're not trying to create a rip in the paper. We're trying to create holes. When we're done, what's really exciting is to take this when it starts to get dark that night and put it over a lampshade or something else and make the rest of the room dark so that they can see the picture glows. It's very reinforcing to some kids. If it isn't reinforcing, and even if it is reinforcing, make sure that you're pairing it with praise and saying what a great job and displaying their artwork. Because if they don't right now, over time, they will start to be reinforced by that. But a lot of kids, there's something sensory about when the light pokes through the holes and they know that they did it. There is a pride that comes with that. Especially this time of year, there are a lot of you'll see they have these kinds of templates to be done on the side of a pumpkin. And if you have pumpkins in your area, you can certainly do that as well with the pumpkin. Hold the picture up to the pumpkin and have them poke through, or you can just take the templates that go for the pumpkin and have the child do them on your carpet and hang them around the house. If you take and hang them in a window that you light up, so that you tape this against the window, when people walk by, they will see the shapes shining through. It's very exciting for some of our kids. And of course, you could do that with other holidays as well. It'll work with any size shape, but a push pin and some kind of a template short ply carpet, and you're really working on that tripod grasp. You're really going to see it's much easier to work on handwriting if you do a lot of this. You can't do too much of it, but you do need to supervise every time you do it because the push pin is sharp. Tripod grasp, push pin art, it's a really good thing. Stick with us. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's the healthy eating. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's that time of day when we're going to do the A word. I've gotten way ahead of myself. So now is the time when we're going to show this week's episode for the A word. This is a documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy named Jack Riley, diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. At this point in the series, he's about 2 weeks into therapy. He's at his very first clinic. It's episode number 5, I believe. This is the A word.
To infinity and beyond.
So how's the first 2 weeks?
Great and awful.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's great progress and it's hard to get used to. Last Friday was rough for him. At the end of the second week, he had a rough. I think every session was rough for him.
Mickey's doing really well. Like I held up a green marker to him last night and asked him what color, and he said green.
Yeah,
no prompting.
Unprompted.
And black did the same thing.
Black and blue and green, he's doing okay.
The fact that he'll say colors without us telling him first, that's huge. But
He's trying to say everything.
It is.
He tries to say tangled.
Oh, yeah.
He says cars really well, of course.
You say tangled? Tangled.
Oh, yeah.
You say Bambi?
Oh, Bambi! Bambi's fun. I'm excited that he's talking so much.
He's got a lot to say these days.
Aww.
Say
red. Good, sorry.
Red is always hard for him, so that's awesome. He usually just says bleh for red. He'll just vocalize something.
Do whatever comes out.
They like it when I say something, so I'll say something.
I don't know, he's so quick to do it now.
You want the doll? Oh, she's pretty. You kiss her? Give her a kiss.
Aww.
Give her a kiss.
Clinic is where therapists come on the team together, as well as the supervisors and the parents and the child. And it's a great way to talk about his progress, and if the parents have concerns about the programs that we're doing or problem behaviors that come up. It's just a great way for us to have communication with each other and be on the same page so we're consistent with everybody that's involved, parents, therapists, and supervisors. Oh, you found it. What is that?
Oh no.
What is it? Guitar, yeah?
Guitar.
So we're having him demand for things, meaning we're having him request for things, and if he knows the label, we're having him say the label. So, I mean, approximations are okay, but as long as he's asking us for something, instead of having us just give it to him, so that requires him to talk even more. Which book do you want? Which one? Mickey book? Whoa! Do you want the Mickey book or the Thomas book? Which one? Jack Riley? No. Hey kiddo, which one? Thomas book or Mickey book? No. Which one, Jack Riley? No. Do you want the guitar? Guitar? Yeah? Okay. Alright. That's okay. Here. Look. Look. We're going to show Suzanne that you know what a car is. Okay? Here. Touch car. Good. What is it? It's car. Okay, what is it? Good job. Good job, kiddo. You gotta look better though, okay? Let's sit up and look at it. There we go. Wow, you gonna show Suzanne the car?
Vroom vroom.
Touch car. Good. What is it? What is it? Say car. Good. What is it? Good job. Oh, that's Suzanne.
Hi.
Hold on.
You want to see?
You can't see yourself. You gotta be on the other side, silly. Woohoo! See? Do you see yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of talking by himself. No way. I know.
He wants to have a conversation so badly today.
I know.
I know.
You got a lot to say today.
How else do you feel? Huh? How else do you feel today?
Do you feel happy? Touch car. Good job. What is it? Car. Very good. Say, look, Dad, I did it. I did it.
Good job.
No?
What are you calling that? If you say touch the thing in your hand.
Oh, what we're doing is we're having one of the objects is one of the labels that we want, which is car, which is what we're working on, and we have a distractor. So we want to see the object that we're focusing on with something else to see if you actually can discriminate between the two. So I mean, so our goal is just to see if you can pick the right object, basically. Touch. Hold on. Touch. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute. Okay. Ready? Okay. Touch car. No. Try again. Try again. Okay. Okay. Last one. Last one. Touch car. Yeah, touch it though. Touch car. Good. What is it? What is this? What is this?
Car.
Yes, car. Okay. Someone helping him to stop? Okay. Yeah. Hi.
That's the first time I've seen him really say hi. Well, he's very interested with
Did he just say hi?
He just looked at her and said hi.
He did.
And he looked at the camera and he said,
No, he doesn't. That's seriously.
I've never seen him
heard
say
him
hi
say
to
hi.
anybody, that's like the first thing we wanted to say to our families and stuff. Is just say hi. He says bye-bye.
Okay, come on, buddy.
Let's go. Go, Dad. See you now.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back. I'm a huge fan of this series, The A Word. And if you haven't been watching this, I really want to urge you to watch this series. You can watch it from beginning to end, well, not end, beginning to where it is at this point in time because it's ongoing. That's their YouTube channel. And I am a fan because I think it is a very good representation in a small amount of time of what happens when you start ABA, how it can be frustrating, but ultimately, well, I refer to ABA as the autism miracle in my living room. So what's fascinating to me, because we've watched all the episodes up to date, and now we've gone back to the beginning to kind of take a look, and you really get a different perspective. You know, even being a parent who I feel like when I watched it the first time, I said, you know, this is like watching what happened in my household, except I know what's going to happen. I know how this book ends, and it's great. But I'm seeing it with fresh eyes. Now, seeing how well Jack Riley has done, it's fascinating for me even to go back and watch and go, look at that, what he just did that he doesn't do anymore. Really, really fascinating. Did you see the one moment when Jessica, the therapist, she was holding up the two different books? She had the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse book, and she had the Thomas the Tank Engine book, and she was asking him which book he wanted. She was doing a preference assessment because she was about to do a series of lessons with him, because she's trying to teach him the receptive label of car, and she wanted to know which thing he wanted to work for. You notice that she didn't say, which one of these things do you want to work for? We do that with older kids, but he's way too young at this point. She says, so she just holds him up and says, which one? Which one? You want Mickey or do you want Thomas? And he's kind of paying a little bit of attention, but he starts toe walking. right? Because this is one of the different things that our kids do. Just because somebody toe walks does not mean that they have autism, but a lot of our kids will walk on their toes. And so he starts to do toe walking and he's not really paying attention to her. He's interested in other things and he's talking to the wall. His focus is someplace else. And she tries to get his attention. She says, which one do you want? Do you want the Mickey or do you want the Thomas? And he's still not paying any attention. So she grabs his attention, even takes a hold of his arm and pulls him over, but she realizes, I've got two things here that may have been reinforcing 5 minutes ago, but neither one of them is getting his attention now. So instead of pushing it and keep going, no, pick one of these, she brings something else that she knows is pretty power-packed into the assessment. Because it's not about forcing the child to pick, right? Not with a preference assessment, it's not. With a preference assessment, we're trying to see which one grabs their attention. And if it's not working, you got to bring something else in. So she brings over, she says, do you want this one, this one? And it's hard because she's only got two hands. I always think of the therapists as being octopi, but they're not. So she's got the two books and she puts them together in one hand. She says, or do you want the guitar? And now he's making eye contact at least with the guitar, so she knows, okay, so of the three things I've got here, he's interested in the guitar. He was very much into his own thing, but he's focused on the guitar. Okay. She doesn't let go of him, right? So she really does turn into an octopi, and she kind of shoves the two books away and she pulls him in and she's having to juggle things and she's got the car. It's not easy, but she does it very fluidly because she's used to it. But I want you to realize there's a lot going on in that moment, but she pulls him in very gently and she says, okay. And so she puts the car down and she says, touch car. And you notice how she's not using a whole lot of words here. And she has a very specific way that she says it that gets his attention, like this is going to be fun, instead of touch the car, right? She says, touch car, and he's got nothing else there, right? And he likes cars. This is a little boy who likes the movie Cars. So does he understand what she's asked and what he's doing? No, it's okay. He's still going to learn it over time. The only thing that's there is the car. So he leans over and gets the car and she says, yes, what is it? And he doesn't really say, and she says, it's a car, because she's not teaching him the expressive label yet. She's just trying to teach him the receptive label. I say car, you know that I'm talking about that thing. And within a second, he begins to say car, and she says, yeah, so we're getting that expressive label, but we weren't necessarily going for it. And there's the moment of excitement because he is going to get reinforced by playing the guitar here in just a second. So I just want to bring home that that's what that moment is there. That's the preference assessment. And always we have to be thinking, what am I trying to accomplish in this moment? Sometimes we're trying to teach something. Sometimes we're just trying to see what they're into. So that's not the teaching moment. I know sometimes it's confusing because you think, well, I'm told to always follow through. So if I hold up two things and say, pick one, then I want them to follow through. But what I'm trying to follow through with in this particular moment is to know what they're interested in. And if it's not these two things, I got to bring other things in. So just wanted to point that out. I had some other notes here that I wanted to talk about. They talk about how, at the beginning, about how much more he's talking and how thrilled. And it's not as though this just spontaneously happened and we didn't pave a path. Part of what they did to pave the path was start rewarding manding. And they're doing it on a regular basis. We talked about this yesterday, that if we get our child to request something and we reward them for it, we will see that the amount that they do it will start to go up. And the more we reinforce it, the more it's going to go up. And also they bring up a very important point that especially in the beginning, we're going to reward any approximation. We're going to move that goalpost eventually, but in the beginning, we want to make sure that the child feels like the effort it takes to mand is worth it, that the paycheck is, I get it if I try. And then eventually we're going to shape that up to be that the child says it in a way that even a stranger down the street is going to understand what it was that they said. But we're not going to get there unless we reward approximations. Did you hear that one point the mom said, oh yeah, he's so interested in talking that even if he has no idea how to say it, when we say to him, say whatever, he'll say something. he'll just say something because he's realizing it's the noise that comes out that you get excited about. That's on the right path. That's the beginning of true learning right there. He's making the attempt because it's worth it. Really, really exciting. There were so many other things that I wrote down, but some of them I'm going to have to share for tomorrow. And the whole idea of the clinic, I know I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and they talk about it in the video that it's really a time for everybody to make sure that they're on the same page. It's such an invaluable time for a parent. You learn so much. You get the opportunity to ask questions. It's an emotional time. My husband and I had a running joke that in the 5 years that we were coming, and in the beginning we came every 2 weeks for a clinic. Then eventually it went to every 3 weeks, and then we went to once a month, and then it was like every other month we would come, and then we were just having phone conversations because at a certain point it wasn't conducive for my child to be there to hear what it was that we were trying to do, because some of it we didn't want him to know. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we did want him to know and sometimes we didn't. But right at the end it was pretty much down to phone conversations. And I never, ever, it was in this building from which we're webcasting that we had these clinics. And it's funny because I think of this building as a different building now. Occasionally I go up to the 3rd floor and I see what's happening there, and it's a happy, joyous place. As I mentioned yesterday, we hear therapists and supervisors reinforcing children, and you will hear yay constantly. And it's a very emotional place for me. But no matter what, no matter how well the clinic went, no matter how much I saw that my child was learning, every single time we left this building, we would go and get in the car, and we would get him all strapped in and get all the books strapped in, because you bring a lot of stuff with you. And my husband would go to pull out and drive away. I would snap on my seatbelt and I would do a big sigh. And then he would say, "Are you okay?" And I would say, "I just feel like crying." Every single time, as if it was something new and fascinating. And he would always say to me every single time across 5 years, "Why, honey? Things are going so well." And I would say, I know, I'm just so emotional when we leave." It's a really emotional time. And to see a group of people working with your child and knowing that amazing things are happening and being so grateful, but also having this awareness of that nobody else in your core of friends is doing this. They're just not. They're at Little League games, and they're, at the park, and they're getting together and doing swimming lessons and doing that. They're not there at the clinic. And the feeling of, wow, we're on a different path. We just have different issues and we have different priorities. It always made me emotional. Not in a bad way, but it's an emotional time. But I cannot say enough how important it is to have that time. If you are working with an ABA provider, I hope that you are having those regular meetings where the whole team gets together and both parents are there, and you get an opportunity to talk and ask questions and see what's happening and see the tweaks. It's really, really important for your ongoing progress and mental health and so on and so forth. It's an amazing thing. So again, Jack Riley and his family, really lovely, lovely family. They are now +1 because since this video was made, they have added a daughter to their family, a little girl, which is a wonderful thing. But I encourage you, watch this series on their YouTube channel, learn from it, and share it with other people because it really is pretty amazing. All right, that's the A word. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it is going to be time for the healthy eating tip of the week. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and this is my son Jem. We're here today at the Home Depot. You might know that Home Depot is famous for giving free classes to adults on lots of things like tiling and other home crafts. Well, they also have free classes for kids as well. It's called the Kids Workshop. We love doing that, don't we, Jem?
Yeah.
It's cool. So come on inside with us and let's do a craft.
Yay.
The Kids Workshop is a program that's been around with Home Depot almost since we've been a company, and it's been developed to allow kids in the community to come in and give them an opportunity to build something, to be able to create something and be able to take just simple wood pieces and put them together with nails and hammers and screwdrivers and then paint them.
So you do this every first Saturday of the month.
Any Home Depot that you go to on the first Saturday of every month between 9 and 12, you can join different associates throughout different stores and build these projects with these kids.
And do they have to do anything beforehand, or can they just show up on that Saturday?
All they need to do is show up. We have all the tools, all the materials that the kids will need. We have aprons that we give to the kids that they can take home and maintain their pins. They get pins on a regular basis for completing projects. With that, they can keep track of how many projects they've done. And
it's all free.
It's all absolutely free, all provided.
Which is wonderful. And Wilson, I have to say, you know, you guys devised this for all kids to be able to do this.
Correct.
What I particularly love about it as an autism mom, it gives my child a place to come and learn a new skill, to socialize with kids of all kinds.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. Home Depot is definitely loves to be involved with the community and bring the community in to work with us. That's what we love to do.
Welcome back to Autism Live. It is that time of the week where we talk about healthy eating. I know it makes me the least popular person on the block, but it's important. And I want you to know that I want you to feel that I understand what it's like, and I want you to pick your battles. That I know so many of you write in and say, well, of course I want my child to eat healthy, but I've got so many other things that I have to combat that really, you know, sometimes I just can't. In fact, just this morning I was reading the newest blog. We were talking about this dad blogger earlier today, Jim Walter, who does the Just a Little blog. And his most recent blog was about going to an amusement park with his family. And in it, there's a section where he talks about how motivated his daughter is for a certain kind of food that, shall we say, nuggets. And that, yeah, it's not the healthiest thing, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And I'm a firm believer in that sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But what we need to be careful about is that sometimes doesn't become all the time, because it's all too easy to do that in our busy households where we have so much continually. Can I tell you, when autism started in our house, I was like, I just got to get, you know, over this hump. We just got to start ABA, and once we start ABA, everything will be fine. And then I just got to get through the first IEP. I just got to get through the first IEP, and then everything will be fine. I'm still saying that, okay? And a lot has gotten significantly better. I would be lying if I didn't admit that, but there's always something. And I really notice that the things that we prioritize are the things that get done. And so I'm telling you, you got to put it on the list of things, the healthy eating. And yes, there are going to be days when it just isn't going to happen, but let those be the vast exceptions. And you know what I think you'll find is that if that nugget trip that can be so rewarding to the child happens a lot less frequently, guess what happens? It's a lot more rewarding. So it really becomes the thing that when the chips are down, it's the thing that you can do. Okay, so what's my healthy eating tip for this week? Whenever there's a change in the seasons, it's my firm belief, and we hear this from a lot of nutritionists, that it's time for us to change what we're eating and how we're doing it. We're right for most of us at the time when we're having a season change. So let's talk about what we can do about fall produce. I'm a big believer in saving money, and you know, when you go into the store or the market from where you're going to buy the produce, you will notice that some things are on sale, and it's a direct correlation to what there is an abundance of, because it's what's in season. So I really, you know, that isn't always true. Sometimes it's what needs to move because it is about to spoil, right? And I think you guys are discerning enough that you can tell the difference. But when things are in season, I do like to go through the flyers every week to look and see, okay, what's on sale? And it reminds me, oh, that's in season. I'm a big believer in doing the organic thing, and that can be very expensive. I know a study came out this week that suggests that It's just, I'm about to start a new segment. I don't know whether it's going to be later on this week or next week. That's going to, the title of it is How Stupid Do I Look? And we're going to be covering on the first segment this study that's come about organic fruits and vegetables. So I'll save that for then, but really, and we'll talk about that, but how stupid do I look? Okay, so organic produce I think is a big plus. That's my personal preference for lots of reasons which we'll go over, but it can be expensive, and you know and I know that we've got to really watch our pennies and nickels if we're on this journey. So now is a great time to be looking and seeing what is less expensive. I know at our local Sam's Club, the organic raspberries have been so ridiculously inexpensive that I've been freezing them, because I know in the middle of winter when I'm wanting something to give to my son or to myself that's really reinforcing and tastes like the sunshine that comes in those summer months, it's going to be a great thing, and you can get them for a song right now, and it's only going to last for about a week. But what else is on sale in your area? What is abundant? Because that's going to be really ripe, in season, and good for you and your family in most cases. Also, now is a great time when things are changing to introduce new things, but I'm a big fan of giving our children choices. You just saw the preference assessment with Jessica where she held up the two things and said, which one do you want? A lot of times children will choose. Sometimes you got to add a third thing. So give choices. And you can do this before you buy the produce, by the way. I'm a big fan of taking our kids to the store and saying, we're going to shop together. And you can hold up a peach and a nectarine and say, which one would you like to have this week? And let the child choose. Is that going to absolutely ensure that they eat it? Nah, it's not. But you're going to be more likely to be successful if they chose it. Also, you know, if you include them in the processing of it, you're more likely that they're going to taste it. We know from our experts that we have to present new things a minimum of 20 times before we can have an expectation of our child eating it. Isn't that shocking? A minimum of 20 times. Every time I hear that, I go, no, seriously? I don't think that I have that much perseverance. But if that's what it takes, then we can just say, oh, okay, well, this is the 10th time that I've presented this. So my expectation shouldn't be that they're absolutely going to love it or have it or taste it or whatever. I'm going to 10 more times. Present in small amounts. It's expensive. But give them choices. If you want to get peppers, I'm always in the grocery aisle and saying, which kind of peppers do you want to have this week? Do you want to have yellow, green, or red? And my child gets an opportunity to tell me. And then reinforce healthy eating habits. How can you do that? Well, hopefully at some point the actual habit will be reinforcing to them because it'll make them feel well. But we're not going to hold our breath for that anytime soon, are we? So make sure that you're praising, and make sure that you're giving something else so that you can say, oh, because we had such a healthy lunch, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Probably not best to say, because we had such a healthy lunch, we're going to have this food that we don't normally have. That may not be the right reinforcement. You might want to save that for something else. We don't want to link these two things together. But maybe there's an activity that your child particularly likes to do, or a toy that they particularly like to play with, and link it up with the healthy eating so that after they eat the healthy, you can do it beforehand too, but especially afterwards, because you ate your green beans, you get extra time to play with this toy. And praise, 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 praise. Always linking that together. Really important that we instill the value of eating healthy in our children and that we make it a priority for us. It doesn't have to be a battleground. Don't let it be a battleground. If you've got to have the nuggets on the plate because that's all your child will eat right now, okay, put the nuggets on the plate, but put whatever the healthy eating thing is on the plate first, and let it be there for a couple of minutes before you put the nuggets there, right? Because once you put the nuggets there, they're not going to eat anything else, right? That's how it works. But we can get this done, and then we can reinforce. All right, that's our healthy eating tip for the week. Stick with us. We're going to be right back after these messages. Welcome. I'm here today with Cecilia Knight, who is the Director of Training for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and today we're talking about how to keep kids healthy.
I think it's really important for, of course, every child to have a pediatrician that the parent is comfortable with and that the parent is seeing regularly, someone who's an expert on autism, who understands the issues related to autism.
A lot of kids who are on the spectrum are a little bit obsessed with one area of food. Any suggestions?
I think it's really difficult for parents because many of their children either self-limit or they don't like certain textures. Their pediatricians, after testing them, see that they are deficient in iron and other nutrients that are so important. And so it does reach the levels where many parents need to seek help. Maybe from something like SOS, Specialized Outpatient Services, or another feeding clinic in their area. Someone who can address specifically, how do I get my child to eat this texture? How do I get my child to eat something other than French fries?
So what advice do you have for parents in terms of realizing what's the autism and what's something else that has to be addressed?
As we all know, every child is different, and from one child to the next on the spectrum, their symptoms are different, and what they struggle with medically is different. You do run into a problem with many physicians saying, well, that's just symptomatic of autism, and so we're not going to treat it. And I think it's really important to be sure that if they need to see a neurologist to address seizures, that they're getting that done. If they need to see a nutritionist because of the food issues, that they're getting that done, all while being treated by a pediatrician who maybe can help oversee that. But I think it's not a great idea to dismiss everything as that's just autism.
I always try to imagine a child trying to do therapy while they've got all these biological things going on, and how could they possibly concentrate?
Right. Well, our clients are just like you and I. It's very difficult to concentrate if I have a headache or if I have an upset stomach. And so I think it's really important to first give the child the opportunity to feel better, whatever that means for that child, because again, each child is very different. But I have had children that once you address a specific food allergy, then the symptoms of stomach pain or, a sty in their eye that wouldn't go away or constant diarrhea, until we addressed that medical issue, it's very difficult to concentrate on treatment.
Sure.
And then once they could address those issues, then treatment, went more the way we were hoping it would go.
Absolutely. And there's all kinds of things that would come under that heading, right? If they had sleep disorders, if we already said food allergies, but what about vision problems?
Absolutely. The hard thing is, depending on the child's ability to communicate, sometimes it's difficult to have vision tested or to have hearing tested. So working in combination with someone who could help expose the child to the contingencies that would be in place, for example, for a vision test, and practicing or being prepared may help in those situations, but it's definitely a real issue.
Wow. So maybe even using your ABA program to practice for the vision test.
Right. It's very difficult for parents to find a pediatrician often that they connect with, but I encourage them to keep looking for a pediatrician who has specific experience and has other clients maybe with autism, and they have a good rapport with other parents. Someone who can listen to their concerns about sleep or about seizures or about eating and not dismiss them. Because, sometimes we uncover things that are surprising or that were unexpected, just like with the rest of us. So it's important to keep looking for answers, I think, to all of those issues.
And the healthier they are, the happier they're going to be, and the quicker they're going to learn.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Autism Live. It's that time of the day when we're going to talk about answers to the question of the day, and I'm so busy doing 38,000 things and I can't see how to close. Oh, there it is. A big button that says close on it. I'm on Facebook, can you tell? All right, so a couple of things. First, before I start, I have a question for you guys. One of you had asked us last week, and it goes directly to one of the things we're going to talk about here in just a second. If you'd like to see some video of ABA being done with older children. And I think that that's a great idea, and I shared that there's a lot of that available within the skills program. But I put out the feeler and said, hey, do we have some video that we can show on the show of ABA being done with older children? And apparently there is so much of it that the question that they're asking me is, any particular topics that you would like to be covered so that they can cross-reference and see videos. So is there a particular lesson or a particular area of lessons that you would most like to see covered? So that's my question that I'm throwing out to you guys, because apparently there's that much of it that we can, I'm not saying that we definitely have what you're looking for, but we might as well ask the question since I'm being asked it. So if there is stuff that you'd like to see in particular, let me know. Okay, so our question today was, and you'll see how this all dovetails together here in a second, does your child have friends they enjoy playing with on a regular basis? A lot of responses. Somebody who said yes, but only at school. Well, that's a step in the right direction. And my question is there the possibility of play dates after school? Another person said nope, and went on to say, where are all the answers for the young adults and teens that didn't get help when they were younger because no one knew what the devil they were doing? Would be nice, but I guess they just care about the rich people who have kids that are autistic and afford all the wonderful services that were never offered to me or my kids. And can I tell you, like, I'm trying to be able to message this person. I'm having a difficult time doing it. But a couple of things that I want to share here. First of all, do I hear some frustration there, and completely warranted frustration, because I know that there are a lot of you out there who feel like you've got teenagers now and you hear all these things and you think, how come this wasn't available for my child? I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. But it's one of the reasons why I'm here. I'll be honest with you, it's one of the reasons why I'm here, because I spent so many nights waking up and wondering what I would have done had we not had the ability to do what we did. And please believe me, you are not looking at a rich person here at all. And I'm 100% honest with you that if it had been us being able to pay for ABA, we would have had to move some other place. And I know a lot of people did move to states where ABA was paid for because there was no way to pay for it. I didn't have 2 nickels at the time that my son was diagnosed to be able to pay for ABA. So just know that some of us got incredibly lucky, but it wasn't in the rich area. And also I want to let you know that on Monday at 11:10-ish, we're going to have a special guest coming in talking about working with kids on the spectrum that are older, that either didn't get the opportunity to have ABA when they were kids or didn't have the opportunity to get enough. Because I know that's a lot of your stories too, that your child was granted 8 hours of ABA a week and now you're hearing that it needed to be between 25 and 40 and your disappointment knows no bounds, right? If you have an opportunity this week, they had a new post on the A Word that's kind of whimsical, but the mom talks about going to a conference and getting to meet Temple Grandin, and that she talks about her son, Jack Riley, to Temple Grandin, and Temple Grandin says to her, has he already started to speak? And she said, yes, he is speaking at this point. And Temple Grandin says, is he getting quality ABA between 25 and 35 hours a week? And the mom says yes. And Temple Grandin says to her, then don't worry, he's going to be okay. And many things that I want to say there, how how wonderful it is that that is being widely spoken now, and how devastating it is for those of you who didn't have that opportunity. But it does not mean that the boat has completely sailed. And we have a special guest and expert who's going to be with us on Monday to talk specifically about older kids and what ABA can do and how you can be efficient and how you can get progress. So that's Monday. I'm going to try to get a hold of this parent. Yeah, and then people start to react to each other. But reading on, okay, answering the question of the day, which is, does your child have friends they enjoy playing with on a regular basis? And somebody wrote in and said, yes, my son's best friends are his cousin, Brendan, and brother Dawson. And I'm saying those names because we don't have a last name. And how wonderful is that? Siblings and relatives that are patient and supportive are really wonderful. And that this child, he says, just because they're family doesn't mean that they're not my friends too. I love that. Another person who says, my son has neighborhood friends, but tends to play with much younger kids. He never asks to spend time with any of the kids from school. And you know what? My son, over the years, has tended to play with younger kids as well. That isn't as much true now, but don't be frightened by that, because our kids will sometimes gravitate to kids who are at their level in terms of social interaction or in terms of play or whatever, and it might just be a thing of your child catching up, or it could be a thing where we see with social interaction that older kids can just be mean. And younger kids are still innocent to that and aren't. So it doesn't mean that your child isn't going to at some point be in their age range with friends who are not mean, but give it some time. Be patient with that. I think it's a perfectly understandable thing. And another person who says, do these friends have to be visible to everyone? If not, yes, he has lots of friends. And some of our kids do have imaginary friends. It's a step in the right direction. Somebody who writes in and says, yes, they do have friends they play with regularly. Another person says just his sister or when he goes to the park, but still has trouble because kids look at him weird because of his speech. You know, I think it's so devastating for us when kids do that. Our kids make an effort and the other kids. But I think it's important to remember that our kids are not the only ones that are being discriminated against in this way. I can remember years ago, friends who had two beautiful little daughters, just absolutely the most gorgeous things and smart as whips, completely neurotypical in terms of their development, precious, sweet, kind little girls. And my son was still on my hip. He was that little, and I remember going to have a little luncheon, and there was a little area for the kids to play in, and other kids came into the area, and they were kids of that age where they're just, I don't know what it is, but they just get cranky and snotty and aggressive towards other children. But one of the little girls, absolutely the most beautiful little girl, she is somebody who her head is just, she's got a big head. It's not freakishly big. Her head is just big, and she has grown into her head over the years. And I don't know that it's something that most people would ever notice, but she had a very large head, and but absolutely stunningly beautiful. And these two little kids came up and immediately started making poems and songs about the big-headed girl. Oh my goodness. And everybody was appalled. We didn't allow it to happen. We had to hunt down the parents and talk to the kids and say, what, seriously, is that how you want to behave? And of course, the little girl was devastated. I remember her dad was devastated. Our kids pick on other kids, and if there's anything to be picked on, man, they're like little laser beams. And we can help our kids to get through that. We can help them to develop the skills to know what to do when people do pick on them, to know what to do so that they're less likely to be a target. And one of the things that mom confessed about that little girl is, I dress her in hats a lot because it disguises it, and I said, really? Seriously? Kids pick on that? But they do. And I don't know why the parents don't stop it. But in any case, it's not just our kids. I think it's a phase that kids go through. Okay, another person who says only the ones at school and aftercare still tends to find a lonely spot when the room gets crowded and noisy. Man, I do too. I can't stand it when the room gets too noisy. A person who says no, their child does not have friends, regular friends. I hope that we're working on that. Another person says, yes, he does. It took me a long time to accept that certain kids don't like him and that that's okay. Oh, that just chokes me up. He is in grade 4 and he has boys in the neighborhood that call on him from grade 8 to grade 1 that have similar interests. He has found acceptance, and so have I, after just letting things be and trusting that it will all work out okay. He never felt sad when he didn't have friends, but I did for him. We have worked on social skills, and glad to report he and his Asperger's are getting to meet great kids. Wonderful. I love that you reminded all of us that we worked on this, that we went to a group. That's important for all of us to remember. Another person who says, no, my child does not have regular friends. Another person answering the question, does your child have regular friends that they enjoy playing with, says, unfortunately, he does not have enough friends, but most important, he has a loving sister and brothers, so he is not alone. That's fabulous. Another says, mine loves to play with daddy. Daddy is like a big boy, a big toy. I have one of those husbands too. Yet another person says, sort of. He has friends at school that play with him. My son is only semi-verbal and so easygoing. Plus, he likes to play tag. What kid doesn't? We are also part of a meetup group of parents of kids with all abilities. We get together with the purpose of helping our kids learn to interact with each other. Those of you who have said no should try setting up a meetup group. And she has the link here, www.meetup.com. To find other parents with kids around your children's age and get them socially active now. This is a great way to meet parents with similar situations. So it's www.meetup.com. Wonderful. And we have many, many more of these, but we're going to take a break. We've still got more to talk about here on the show, so stick with us.
ACT Today, or Autism Care and Treatment Today, was founded in 2004 by several passionate parents who believe that access to early, effective treatment is vital for individuals with autism. Together with Dr. Doreen Graham-Pache, the world's leading provider of therapy for autism, this group created ACT Today to do just as the name implies, take action immediately to treat autism spectrum disorders.
A lot of families and parents and even physicians don't yet accept the fact that we are recovering children with autism.
In 2006, inspired by her struggle to get treatment for her young son Wyatt, television producer and author Nancy Alspaugh Jackson and her husband Reed hosted a backyard benefit for the foundation called Denim and Diamonds for Autism. Tens of thousands of dollars were raised, and in 2008, Alspaugh Jackson took the helm of ACT Today as executive director.
This country has to come together to save a generation of children.
With a dedicated board of directors, a small but committed staff called the A-Team, as in autism, ACT Today is making a huge difference in the lives of children across the country. Grants that fund programs for behavior therapy, special needs schools, and summer camps. Medical needs like diagnostic tests and special diets. Basic safety equipment such as helmets for children who repetitively bang their heads, and fencing for those who wander. Assisted technologies and assistance dogs.
Hi, my name is Max, and I love my iPad too. It's so great. I can take photos.
In 2010, ACT for Military Families became the first national campaign to benefit military children with autism.
I'm Joe Montaigne. As a father of a daughter with autism, I know the challenges that brings.
ACT Today continues to educate and raise national awareness on the need for early and intensive intervention for an epidemic that affects at least 1 in 110 children.
I called on November 1st. And I'm like, how am I going to get notified? How are you going to let me know? And they ended up looking and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above.
ACT Today, fulfilling its mission of helping families with autism, one child at a time.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We talk from time to time about cognition and how important it is to help our children to begin to build the skills to help them to think through problems and to be able to see things from a 360-degree perspective. That's going to help them with their social interactions, but it's also going to help them just in everyday activities throughout life. And the thing that I want to talk about today are desires and preferences and wishes. Helping our children on sort of this timeline continuum, starting with desires, moving into preferences, and leading the way to talking about wishes. It's fairly easy to begin to teach desires to children. It goes hand in hand with teaching mands. When a child is wanting something, we want to language it and say, oh, you want that. Do you want a cookie? Do you want some juice? And they begin to understand, well, I want this. And then we do preference assessments. Which one do you want? Which thing is it that you want? Then we try to flip the tables a little bit and have them start to understand what it means for somebody else to want something. Well, you want blue and she wants red. That's really the beginning of perspective taking as well. And so I've got some tips here for you about teaching desires and preferences. The first one is using manding and tacting to teach the desires. So when you're teaching them their own desires, when they're manding, you want to make sure that you're referencing it back and saying, oh, you want the cookie, oh, you want the milk, oh, you want the juice, oh, you want the toy. Using those words so that it helps them to know, and eventually you're going to give them a frame saying, I want, to be able to add to that and tacting the same thing, that when I'm pointing something out and I say, oh, look, fireworks, I'm tacting, and that begins to teach my child what my desires are, what kinds of things I'm interested in. When we teach preferences, we're sort of teaching a hierarchy of desires that, you know, in the case of Jack Riley, we were just watching and she held up a book that was a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse book, and we know he likes that, and she held up a Thomas the Tank Engine, he likes that one too. So which one do you like that much more? What's your preference? And teaching a child that they have preference, teaching them on a scale of things about, okay, you know, you like this and this. And in the beginning, we're showing to them. We're not saying, so which one do you like more? We're just showing and then letting them tell us which one they like more. But eventually, as a child gets older and they have more receptive language, it's something that we can literally language and say, okay, you know, here are your choices. You can have this, this, or this. Which one do you want more? It's a difficult thing sometimes. My son still struggles. Especially if I give him two highly preferred things, it's almost as if I'm torturing him. He's like, I can't choose. But allowing him to work through what his preferences are. Well, I love both of these things, but I slightly like this one more, and that's okay, and that doesn't harm anybody, and life goes on, right? So teaching that hierarchy of desires. By the way, the flip side of that is that we teach the hierarchy of things that aren't good, so that we start to get some self-restraint. If we say, okay, well, this bad thing happened, but which one is worse? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset should we be about this? Because we'd be more upset if this happened. Really helpful with self-regulation. We always want to model about teaching desires and preferences. So we make a point of saying, oh, I always was saying to my child, I love green. Anything that's green, I love green. I love blue too, but I like green more. So that eventually when my child was asked questions about what does mom like? What are the things what does mom want? That he could say some of the things. He just had to go back through his recent memory and say, yes, he had to be prompted, but because I had modeled, I like this, I want this, I prefer this one over this one. He had a basis to go from. And of course, as always, in all the things that we teach, we want to reinforce that it's okay for our children to tell us about what what they like and what they prefer over something else. By setting this up, by creating a situation where they're reinforced for saying what they like and reinforcing what they prefer, what we will see is that it paves a road, a very specific road, for our child to have wishes. Wishes for things that are seemingly unattainable. The real full-hearted, innocent act of wishing for things. Then when we get into executive functions, we begin to be able to look at wishes and say, how can we make this a reality? How can we turn this into a goal? But it doesn't start there. It starts with teaching them what they like and what other people like, and then the gradations of preferences, and eventually we get to wishes and goals. It's really a wonderful gift to give our children. All of the lessons for these things, as all of these different things that we talk about, are available in the skills program, and you can get a free trial of skills to check it out. I love it. And it's what we use at home. They're the same lessons that they worked on with my child in our home. I can't say enough good things about it. But work on desires and preferences so that you pave the way for wishes. It's a fabulous thing. All right, we're going to take a short break and come back, and I'm going to squeeze in that adaptive tip about teaching our children how to make their own snack, because I didn't get to it yesterday. I'm getting to it today. Stick with us.
Mostly the behavior started at night, but it was invading the day, where he would just speak one syllable and babble and pace around.
When she was a year old, she lost speech. She did never seem to request me for anything, even for food.
He told me over the phone that I should just put her in an institution. I was devastated. What's an institution? A hospital. Yeah, isn't that nice?
He told me that it was possible or likely that Ruffin would never be employed, that he would never work productively, that he would not know that I loved him, nor would he love me, nor would he be likely to marry.
There's a 50% chance that he won't be able to talk at all, but if he does talk, he will only be able to, you know, make simple desire requests. I want, things like that. And probably by the time he was 10, he'd be in a home.
Doreen told me that he would recover, and Doreen told me that he would go to regular kindergarten.
I really have a very normal kid now, and lots of normal worries, but not extraordinary ones.
My name is Deli Popola, and I'm one of the creators of TheOutSpot.com. TheOutSpot.com is an online support system for families and specialists who are affected by autism across the whole world. Share inspirational stories, find resources in their area. Hope you can join.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I promised you an adaptive skill yesterday, and I didn't get around to it. I'm close to not getting around to it today, so I can't be frogging around. This is important stuff. When we teach adaptive skills to our children, we give them an opportunity to feel the pride of being a part of something bigger, that they can function and do things for themselves. It's really quite amazing. I think a lot of people underestimate the power of teaching an adaptive skill to a child. It's so very important. So the one that I want to talk about today, the skill that I want to talk about today, is making a snack. We've been talking about reducing our stress and helping our children. This is something that has the potential, Maybe not in the first little while, but the potential down the road to achieve both of those things. If we have the opportunity to teach our children a healthy way in which they can make themselves a snack, it makes them that much more capable, and eventually will make one less skill that we have to do. And I think also quiet some of our stress about their ability to take care of themselves. So when we're going to teach how to make a snack, what kinds of things do we want to keep in mind? I have a couple of suggestions for you. First of all, when you're teaching it, to start with, choose very preferred foods. So, and if colors and textures are also an issue with your child, make sure that they are very preferred. This is not the moment to try to teach a food that is not on their list of things that they already eat. Prepare it in advance. I always say, think like you're making a cooking show. You know how in the cooking show, when they have all the little things already measured and then the cute little bowls, not the way how anyone ever cooks ever. That's how you want to do this. So that it's all prepped and all looking nice and neat as if you were going to do a cooking show. Since you're there and you've prepped all this stuff, I would encourage you to videotape it, and you can send it in to us and say, here's the snack that we made. I would love that. But have it prepared at least for you and for your child or children, and then give clear, concise steps, and start with as few steps as possible. One snack that I can think of in particular that wasn't a snack that we ever did with my child, but I know a lot of kids like, you know, the thing that's called ants on a log, where you take a stalk of celery, and I know, right there you're like, whose preferred food is that, Shannon? No one, I know. But the rest of it is. And if your child can do nut butters, to take peanut butter or almond butter or whatever it is and put it down, so you've washed and cleaned and cut the celery stalk, and you got a little trough, like a little boat, and you take peanut butter or whatever and put it down the middle of the trough, and then you put raisins along the top of it, and so it looks like ants on a log. That's why it's called ants on a log. And this is a really simple, easy snack to demonstrate with. Of course, if your child isn't into raisins and peanut butter or almond butter, you're probably going to want to do something else. But in order to do this particular snack, you would clean and wash and cut all the celery so that it's all ready to go. You would have the peanut butter all, in something that made it easy to spread, and make sure that the knife is already loaded with a bunch of the peanut butter, because it's harder to spread when there's only a little there. And already have a small, probably plastic bowl with some raisins in it, because you don't want anything to get broken. And have a plate ready for your child, and then you would demonstrate for the model and say, okay, the first thing I'm going to do, and you grab the stalk and you put it there and you drag the peanut butter down and you put the little raisins on. At this point, kids get excited and they want to get in there and they want to do it. It's 3 easy little steps. It may be even for a child who really is struggling with those kinds of things, like spreading the peanut butter, that you spread that for them and just have them put the ants on the log. But great fine motor skills to put those ants on the log. There are lots of other simple, easy snacks that a child can do, and then make sure you reinforce it. We're going to give praise, and also they're going to get to eat the thing. That's going to be some reinforcement, and we may need to link it with other reinforcement as well that doesn't go along with that, just so that they feel how amazing this is that they did it, that there are things that they can do, and it's pleasurable when they can do things on their own. So I encourage you, teach your child how to make a snack. Eventually you may get to the point where you just have an area of the refrigerator that's just for them when they come home, that they can get in and decide which thing that they want to do. You can work in that direction. It's really a beneficial thing to do. Make a snack. All right, we're about out of time here, so I just want to go over some of the things that are going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and here at Autism Live, Wednesday is always a big day. About 20 minutes into the first hour, we're going to be joined by Evelyn Gould, BCBA Evelyn Gould, and she always has a wide range of topics that she talks about, but it's an ideal time for you guys to ask questions too. And then at 11 o'clock, Nancy Allspaw Jackson will be joining me for Let's Talk Autism Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and our special guest tomorrow is Lisa Ackerman from the organization known as TACA, T-A-C-A, which stands for Talk About Curing Autism, a really important parent support group, parents who talk to each other and share important information. They are an amazing resource. We've talked about them before on the show, and they have lots of little groups around the world now where parents can talk to each other, and I'm always recommending that we all belong to a local support group and a global support group. And I believe I've shared this before, that my local support group from the beginning has been a really small TACA group here, and I can't tell you how many times having that group of parents to go to and ask a question or pose some sort of discussion has saved my bacon. Let's put it that way. It's a really important organization, though. Tons of resources on their page, everything imaginable on their internet pages. So Lisa's going to be with us tomorrow. She's a mom, and she's also a mom blogger, has just recently come to the blogging arena, and quite well, with quite panache, can I just say. So she will join Nancy and I. Nancy and I will also have some stories in the news to share with all of you. That will be tomorrow, Wednesday, on Autism Live, but that hour we call Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Okay, I want to remind all of you that as this conversation never ends. As the show ends, the conversation continues. There's lots of ways to get a hold of us. Emily's cycling through some of the different ways that we enjoy interacting with you. We hope that you will let us know what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, because we are here for you. That's the long and the short of it. That is why we're here. We're going to be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope you'll join us then. It's going to be a big show. But until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now, and take care.